I've learned to be small in a room that eats the loud for breakfast. At Club Romani, the bass is a pulse. The mirrors fog with other people's choices, and I count tickets, not sins. My hands smooth claim tags with the precision I'll need someday as an EMT. I smile once an hour, fold each coat like it's a person I'm caring for. The club sprawls 3 floors deep into the riverfront, neon and chrome and black leather booths where deals are made in languages I don't speak. I can't afford the champagne they pour like water here, can't afford the rent in the neighborhoods these patrons call home, but I can barely afford tuition if I keep my head down and my shifts stacked. Damiano Moretti himself is a shadow I've learned to predict. I hear his footsteps before I see him, measured, deliberate, expensive leather on marble. He moves through the club in a white suit that seems to glow under the violet lights, black fedora tipped just so, eyes the color of dark honey that sweep the room and rarely land on me. He holds court in the VIP section with men who arrive through back doors and leave the same way. I see the aftermath. Half-empty glasses sweating onto leather, ashtrays with cigars still smoldering, the faint smell of gun oil under expensive cologne. I wipe down the tables, collect the evidence of power. I don't ask questions. That's not my job. My job is to be forgettable. The only constant in this neon-lit, bass-heavy existence is my sister, Vanessa. She's 26, works as a paralegal across town, and calls me every night at 11:30 p.m. to make sure I made it home. She has our mother's sharp laugh and none of my caution. She thinks I should go back to school full-time, stop working doubles, maybe date someone who doesn't carry a gun for a living. Every Sunday we meet for brunch at the diner near my walk-up, 2-bedroom in a building with thin walls and neighbors who blast reggaeton at 2 a.m. It's mine. Well, rented. Barely afforded on coat check wages and the tips I split with the floor staff. I work the extra shifts when they're offered because I need every dollar, because $11,000 left on my student loans doesn't disappear on its own, because my EMT certification exam costs $350. I don't have it yet, because my mother taught me that survival isn't glamorous. It's showing up, shutting up, and outlasting the noise. So I count, I fold, I smile. I take overtime without complaint and drink cheap coffee on the subway ride home. Thursday night. The digital clock above the bar blinks 11:47 p.m. as I finish clearing the coat check counter. My shoulders ache from standing in heels for 9 hours, and my lower back protests when I bend to grab my jacket from the employee closet. October in the city means the nights come early and cold, and through the club's front windows I watch rain beginning to slick the streets outside. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Are you heading out? Vanessa's voice crackles through my phone, right on time. She's at her boyfriend's place in Brooklyn, but still keeps tabs. Yeah, long day. You sound exhausted. I'm fine. You always say that. I pull my hood up as I push through the staff exit into the alley. Movie night this weekend if I'm not on the schedule. Lauren, her voice carries that gentle reproach only siblings master. You can't keep doing doubles forever. I can until I pass my exam. She sighs but doesn't argue. Text me when you're home. Always do. Outside, the rain has gone from mist to downpour. I huddle under the narrow awning by the door and check my phone for the bus schedule. 4 blocks. That's all it is to the stop on Amsterdam. I've walked it hundreds of times, sometimes with other staff, sometimes alone when the club closes late. The neighborhood is supposed to be safe. This is Damiano's territory, after all. I've heard the whispers, seen the way street dealers step aside when his cars roll past, watched beat cops nod and wave instead of asking questions. Protection, order, rules enforced by men in tailored suits. Tonight, I'm alone. The bouncer offered to walk me, but I waved him off. He's got another 4 hours on the clock, and I'm not his responsibility. I pull my hood tight, tuck my phone into my jacket pocket, and start walking. The street is quieter than usual. Most storefronts are dark, except for the bodegas with their barred windows glowing yellow. My sneakers splash through puddles, soaking my socks by the second block. I keep my head down, focused on the familiar route, counting landmarks like prayer beads, the Lebanese takeout spot, the laundromat that never closes, the check cashing place with bulletproof glass. 3 blocks down, 1 to go. The alley mouth opens on my left, a narrow gap between a closed barber shop and a shuttered pawn shop. I've passed it 1,000 times without a second thought. But tonight, 2 figures step out from the shadows and block the sidewalk ahead. I stop. My heart is suddenly loud in my ears. "Evening," one of them says. White guy, maybe mid-30s, leather jacket zipped to his throat, face hard in the streetlight. His partner is taller, silent, hands stuffed in his pockets. In the evening, I manage, angling to step around them. The first man shifts, staying in my path. "Where are you rushing off to?" "Home. Hold on." He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Just making conversation. The taller one moves behind me, cutting off retreat. My stomach drops. "I don't want trouble," I say, voice steadier than I feel. "No trouble." He holds up his hands, mock innocent. "Just need your bag and that phone." My mind scrambles. Scream, but who's around to hear? Run. Where? Fight. Against 2 men twice my size? I pull my crossbody bag over my head with shaking hands and hold it out. He takes it, dumps my wallet, my keys, my chapstick onto the wet pavement, pockets the cash, maybe $40. Then his eyes catch on my shirt, my work polo, gray with the club's discreet logo stitched over the heart, a stylized R in gold thread. He stops, leans closer, wait. His voice changes. "You work at that club, the one on the riverfront." Ice floods my veins. "No." "Don't lie." He grabs my collar, yanks me forward. "I've seen that logo. You work for the Italian, don't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." He looks at his partner. Something passes between them. She works for Romani. The taller man's face goes dark, not greedy. Angry. "I'm just a coat check," I say desperately. "I don't know anything. I hang up coats. That's it. Please. Just a coat check." The first man laughs, ugly and sharp. "Perfect. You're going to deliver a message for us." The first punch comes from nowhere, catches me across the cheekbone. Pain explodes white hot, and I stagger into the brick wall. Before I can recover, hands grab my arms, fingers digging in, hard enough to bruise. "This is what happens," he hisses close to my ear. "When someone thinks they own our streets. When your boss thinks he can tell us where we can and can't work." The second hit catches my ribs, then another, and another. I stop counting after the 4th. Stop trying to fight. Just curl inward and pray for it to end. Someone grabs my hair, wrenches my head back, then nothing. I don't know how long I'm out. Could be seconds, could be minutes. When awareness drags me back, I'm lying on wet pavement, rain drumming against my cheek. Every breath is knives in my side. My lip tastes like copper. My right eye won't open all the way. My keys. I need my keys. I roll onto my hands and knees, vision swimming, and crawl toward the mouth of the alley. There, by the dumpster, glinting under the streetlight. I grab them with numb fingers and use the wall to pull myself upright. A taxi won't stop for a girl who looks like she lost a fight with the city. But the club is 2 blocks back. There's a bathroom, a first aid kit. I can clean up, then call Vanessa, figure out what to do next. I stumbled back the way I came, one hand pressed to my ribs, the other clutching my keys like a weapon. The staff door is still unlocked. I push through, and the bass hits me like a second blow. The club is still alive, still breathing, oblivious. I round the corner into the VIP corridor and stop. Damiano Romani stands beneath a ring of violet light, alone, hat shadowing his eyes, white suit pristine. He's scrolling through his phone, but the moment I step into the hall, he looks up. His gaze lands on my face, the split lip, the swelling eye, the way I'm holding my ribs. He goes very, very still. Then he crosses the distance between us in 3 strides, and his hand, warm, steady, careful, hooks gently under my jaw, tilting my face toward the light. "Who did this to you?" His voice is low, controlled, but I hear the earthquake underneath. I try to answer. My breath hitches. 2 men. In the alley off Amsterdam. Why? I meet his eyes. Honey dark and unreadable. They saw my shirt. Non bon. They asked about you. Something shifts in his expression. Not anger. Colder than that. He releases my chin and steps back, and for one terrible second I think he's going to walk away, leaving me standing here bleeding in his hallway. Instead, he removes his fedora, sets it on the bar cart beside him, unbuttons his cuff and rolls his sleeve once, twice, with the precision of a man preparing for surgery. Go to my office, he says quietly. Sit on the couch. Do not leave. Do not argue. It's not a request. He pulls his phone from his pocket, and as I turn toward the office door, I hear him speak. Calm, measured, final. Franco. Wake the captains. I want names, addresses, and movements for every crew working 10 blocks of Amsterdam. Start with Rossi's people. A pause. No civilians after tonight. We start with their collector. The door closes behind me, muffling the bass and the fury beneath Damiano's voice. I sink onto the leather couch, shaking, tasting blood, and realize with perfect clarity, by morning, the city is going to tremble, and it won't know why until it's too late. The ice comes first, wrapped in a bar towel that probably costs more than my weekly groceries, pressed against my cheekbone with a gentleness that doesn't match the fury I heard in his voice 3 minutes ago. Damiano doesn't speak, just tilts my face toward the desk lamp and catalogs the damage with eyes that have gone professional, almost clinical. He opens a drawer without looking, produces a first aid kit that's seen used before, antiseptic, gauze, butterfly bandages still in sterile packets. This will sting, he says. It does. I bite the inside of my cheek and taste copper again as he cleans the split in my lip. His other hand steadies my chin, warm, careful. I watch his cuffs, pristine white linen, gold cufflinks catching the light. He angles his wrist each time he reaches for supplies, keeping blood off the fabric. Control under pressure, a man who's done this before and learned to stay clean while doing it. You should see a doctor, he says quietly. I'm fine. You're not. But he doesn't push, just tape a butterfly closure over my eyebrow and steps back. Stay here. He moves to the surveillance monitors mounted behind the desk, fingers already pulling up the feeds. Patricia watches from the couch, one hand still holding the ice pack, the other pressed to her ribs. She should leave. Call Vanessa. File a police report that will go nowhere. She doesn't move. Damiano rewinds the alley camera, grainy, black and white, rain making ghosts of the streetlights. There. 2 figures stepping out. The attack happens off-screen, but he tracks backward, tracing their route. They came from the club's direction. 20 minutes before closing, he switches angles, loading dock, side entrance. His jaw tightens. There, the staff door, the one that should have been locked, easing open from the inside. No force, no picks. Someone let them scout the route. Someone who knew Patricia's schedule, knew she'd walk home alone. He picks up his phone. Franco, I need building surveillance from 10 p.m. to midnight, every exit, and pull the duty roster, who had keys to the south side tonight. A pause. He listens, gaze still fixed on the frozen frame. A door held open by a shadow he can't quite identify yet. It's not a robbery, Damiano says, almost to himself. It's a question. Patricia's voice, small from the couch. What question? He glances back. Consider how much truth she can carry tonight. Decides she's earned it. Whether I protect my own. Rossi's been pushing at the river docks for 3 months. This is him asking if I'll go to war over a coat check girl. The word should sting. A coat check girl. But the way he says it, like a title, like a line drawn in the earth, makes her throat tighten instead. And will you? He doesn't answer, just make the first call. The calls are surgical. Patricia listens from the couch as Damiano speaks in the low, courteous tone of someone asking favors that aren't optional. Marcus. The account we discussed. The one under Rossi's nephew's name. Freeze it tonight. Paperwork can follow Monday. A pause. I appreciate your discretion. Second call. Inspector Cho, the gambling room on 10th, the one we've been patient about. I need the health department there by morning. Mold, rats, whatever works. Third call, the longest. Vincent, those 2 properties you manage in Red Hook, the ones on my list. I need the leases pulled, month-to-month tenants, Rossi's people, today. He sets the phone down, rolls his sleeves higher, precise, methodical. Patricia realizes she's witnessing war that won't make the news. No bullets, no bodies. Just the slow, invisible tightening of a noose made from bank accounts and building codes, and men who owe Damiano Romani the kind of debts that don't get written down. He crosses to the cabinet behind the bar cart. Unlock it. She expects weapons. Instead, he pulls out a bottle of water and a sleeve of crackers, the kind you give someone in shock. Eat, he says, handing them to her. You need your blood sugar up. She takes them, fingers still trembling. Watch him move to the second monitor, pulling up employee files. He scrolls through locker assignments, stops on one. Locker 12. That's yours? She nods, confused. He's silent for a long moment, reading something on the screen she can't see. Then his expression softens, just for a heartbeat, just enough that she catches it. EMT certification, he says, not a question. Heat floods her face. I keep my textbooks there. I study on breaks. It doesn't interfere with... When's your exam? December. If I can afford the fee. He closes the screen, pulls a small notepad from his desk drawer, writes something down in precise script. She can't see the words, but she sees the header, a college registrar's office email address she recognizes. He tucks the note into his jacket pocket, says nothing. Before Patricia can ask, the office door bangs open. Franco, late 50s, silver hair, Damiano's consigliere, and the man who's kept this empire running for 2 decades, strides in, breathless. His eyes flick to Patricia, then back to his boss. We've got a walk-in, Franco says. Rossi's collector, downstairs at the service entrance, came alone, hands up, asking for an audience. Damiano goes very still. How long? 2 minutes ago. Patricia watches something dangerous and satisfied across Damiano's face. The kind of expression that doesn't need words. He buttons his cuffs, straightens his collar, puts his fedora back on with the care of a man suiting up for battle. Bring him to VIP 3, Damiano says quietly. Soundproofed. Lights on. He looks at Patricia. You can leave through the front if you want, or you can stay and see what happens when someone answers the question wrong. Her ribs ache, her face throbs. She should run. I'll stay, she whispers. Damiano's mouth curves, not quite a smile, something sharper. Then come, and watch how mercy works in my city. VIP. 3 smells like citrus and gun oil. The kind of room where the bass dies at the threshold and conversations stay buried. Soundproofed walls covered in black leather panels. Recessed lighting that makes everyone look like they're underwater. No windows. 1 door. I follow Damiano inside, and Franco closes it behind us with a click that sounds final. The collector sits in a chrome chair that wasn't designed for comfort. Mid-40s, thinning hair, cheap suit that's seen better days. His hands rest on his knees, empty, visible, shaking slightly. When Damiano enters, the man stands so fast, the chair scrapes. Mr. Romani, thank you for seeing me. Damiano doesn't sit, just removes his fedora, sets it on the bar cart with the same precision he used cleaning my split lip 20 minutes ago. He adjusts his cufflinks, waits. Silence is a weapon. It wasn't sanctioned, the collector blurts. The girl, the attack, Rossi didn't authorize it. Freelancers. Two guys trying to make a name, trying to prove they're tougher than... Names, Damiano says quietly. The collector swallows, pulls a folded paper from his jacket with trembling fingers, slide it across the table. Both of them. Addresses. Where they'll be tonight. Damiano doesn't touch the paper, just glances at it, then back at the man who's sweating under the cool LED lights. And Rossi sent you to tell me this? Rossi wants peace. He doesn't want a war over a misunderstanding. I expect Damiano to explode, to grab the man by his collar, to make him bleed the way I bled in the alley. Instead, he nods slowly, thoughtfully, like he's considering a reasonable business proposal. Tell Rossi I appreciate the clarification, he says. The collector's shoulders drop half an inch, relief. Then Damiano continues. Tell him the pier block on 18th, the one your crew has been running for 6 months, is reassigned as of tonight. Neutral management. Tell him you've been demoted. Publicly. I want every man in his organization to know you're the one who lost that territory. And tell him if one more freelancer so much as looks at my staff incorrectly, I won't be accepting apologies. The collector's face goes white. Mr. Romani, please, that block is my hole. You're still breathing, Damiano says, and his voice drops 10 degrees. You're still walking. You'll still collect, just from smaller streets. That's mercy. Don't mistake it for weakness. Franco opens the door. The collector stands frozen for a heartbeat, then stumbles toward the exit like a man pardoned from execution, but stripped of his rank anyway. The door closes. I realize I've been holding my breath. You thought I'd hurt him, Damiano says without looking at me. Yes. Violence is easy. Fear is policy. He turns, and his eyes, honey dark, unreadable, find mine. He'll tell the story. Rossi will hear it. And every crew within 10 blocks will understand that touching my people costs more than blood. It costs territory, reputation, future. I suddenly understand that I've just watched an execution without a body. Administrative violence, the kind that doesn't heal. Come, he says, picking up his fedora. You need to go home. The car is waiting at the front entrance, engine running, driver standing at attention. Rain has softened to mist. The city looks scrubbed clean under the streetlights, like the violence never happened. Damiano walks me down the steps himself, one hand lightly at my elbow, not controlling, just present. He opens the car door, but before I slide in, he speaks. You don't owe me fear, Patricia. It's the first time he's said my name aloud. It sounds different in his mouth, like something valuable. I owe you nothing, I say, meeting his gaze. I'm here anyway. Something flickers across his face, not a smile. Something warmer and more dangerous. Go home. Sleep. Franco will have someone check on you tomorrow. I work tomorrow. Then I'll see you tomorrow. He closes the door gently. The car pulls away, and through the rear window, I watch him stand under the club's neon sign, white suit glowing violet and blue, until the city swallows him whole. I don't know it yet, but while I'm crossing the bridge toward my apartment, a tech in the surveillance room is rewinding footage frame by frame, tracking the two men backward through camera angles, watching them pause at the staff door, watching it open from inside. Watching Evan. Third shift bouncer, 2 years on staff, the guy with the nervous habit of tapping his thumb against his pulse point, hold the door and glance both ways before letting them through. Franco sees it first, freezes the frame, pulls his phone. By the time I'm unlocking my apartment door, Damiano already knows. The betrayal didn't come from Rossi's streets. It came from inside his own walls, and by morning, Evan will understand what it means when mercy runs out. Damiano calls me at 6 a.m. I haven't slept. My face throbs in colors I can catalog even with my eyes closed. Purple, red, the yellow that's starting to creep in at the edges. "Come back to the club," he says. No preamble. We found him. I should say no. Should ice my ribs and call in sick and let whatever happens next happen without me. But I hear something in his voice, not anger, disappointment, the kind that cuts deeper. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The club is a different animal with the lights on and the music off. All the glamour bleeds out, leaving just scuffed floors, and the faint smell of spilled liquor and too many people in too small a space. Franco meets me at the door, his face carved from stone. "He's in the mirror room," he says. "Damiano wants you to see this." The mirror room is exactly what it sounds like, walls lined with reflective panels that multiply every movement into infinity. Evan sits in the center, chair facing the door, and when I enter, I see 1,000 versions of him reflected back, shoulders hunched, hands on his knees, thumb tapping rhythmically against the side of his neck. That's how I know before anyone says a word. "He does that when he's nervous," I say quietly. The thumb thing, on his pulse point. Damiano, standing in the corner in shirt sleeves, white suit jacket draped over a chair, fedora gone, nods once. I know. Franco noticed it on the footage, too. That's the tell that broke him. Evan's head snaps up. His eyes find mine, and I see the moment he understands that I've already marked him guilty. Damiano moves into the light. Not fast, not threatening, just present, the way gravity is present. "Look at her," he says. Evan's gaze skitters away. "Look at her." Not louder, colder. Evan forces himself to meet my eyes. The bruise, the split lip, the way I'm still holding my ribs when I breathe too deep. "Say what you did," Damiano continues. Evan's voice cracks. "They offered me $2,000. Said they just wanted to know her schedule, when she left, which door she used." He swallows hard. "I didn't think they'd actually... I thought it was posturing, a scare tactic. I needed the money. My rent was 3 months behind. I was going to get evicted." "So you sold her," Damiano says. "I didn't know. You sold her." Silence. Evan's thumb taps faster. Tap, tap, tap. I wait for the violence, for Damiano to break him the way I was broken in the alley. Instead, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a folded document, set it on the table between them. "You're banned," Damiano says. "Every door I control, every club, every security gig, every late-night job in this city that keeps the wrong people out, you're blacklisted, effective immediately." Evan goes gray. "But," Damiano continues, sliding a second paper across, "here's a list. Union apprenticeships, trade programs, electrician, plumber, HVAC, clean work, day shifts. I made calls. You're pre-approved for 3 of them." Evan stares at the paper like it's written in a language he doesn't speak. "You have 48 hours to choose one," Damiano says. "After that, you're on your own. No favors, no second chances. You'll build a life with your hands, or you'll disappear into the kind of work that doesn't care if you survive it. Your choice." He steps back, nods to Franco. "Get him out." Evan stumbles to his feet, clutching the papers, and leaves without another word. The door clicks shut. I realize my hands are shaking. "That's mercy," I whisper. Damiano turns to me, and his expression is unreadable. Mercy is giving him options. The cruelty is making him live with what he chose. He walks me to the office, pours 2 fingers of whiskey I don't ask for but accept anyway. Dawn is bleeding pink through the windows overlooking the river. The city looks almost innocent in this light. "There's a meeting this morning," he says. "La Pailina, 8 o'clock. Rossi will be there." My stomach tightens. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're coming." "What?" "You'll sit to my right." He meets my eyes, and there's no room for argument in his gaze. They need to see who they touched. They need to understand what it cost them. I should refuse. Should tell him I'm not a prop in his war. But when I open my mouth, what comes out is, what do I wear? His mouth curves. Not quite a smile. Exactly what you're wearing now. Let them see the bruises. And I understand with perfect clarity that I'm not a witness anymore. I'm the message. La Paulina opens its doors at 8 for sinners, not saints. The restaurant sits tucked behind a bakery on Mulberry Street, the kind of place that doesn't advertise and doesn't need to. White tablecloths. Espresso is so strong, it tastes like a threat. And this morning, civilians were emptied of civilians by a single phone call. Damiano enters with Patricia at his right and Franco 2 steps behind. He chose the table himself, center of the room, back to the wall, morning light cutting through the window so there's no shadow to hide in. Patricia wears the same clothes from last night. The bruise on her cheekbone has ripened to deep purple. Her split lip is scabbed. She doesn't lower her gaze. Sit, Damiano murmurs, pulling out her chair himself. She does, folds her hands on the table, try not to let them shake. Salvatore Rossi arrives 6 minutes later with 2 men who look like they were carved from the same quarry, broad, silent, dangerous. Rossi himself is older than Damiano by a decade, silver threading his temples, suit expensive but not ostentatious. He sees Patricia and stops mid-step. His eyes flick to the bruise, then to Damiano. Romani. Rossi. Damiano doesn't stand, doesn't extend a hand, just gestures to the chair across from him. Sit. The waiter brings champagne in a bucket. No one asks him to open it. It sits sweating between them, decorative and useless. Damiano slides a single sheet of paper across the table. Patricia can see it from her angle, typed, formal, terrifyingly simple. An accord, Damiano says. Read it. Rossi's jaw tightens, but he picks it up. His eyes scan the page. Patricia watches his expression shift, surprise, then calculation, then something close to fear. No civilians? Rossi reads aloud. No club staff, no families. Enforcement by joint response from... He trails off, recognizing the names. 3 crew bosses from neighboring territories. Old favors Damiano is calling in, codified in ink. You're binding them to this? Rossi's voice is tight. I already have their signatures. Damiano's tone doesn't change. I don't need to. This is your chance to join the agreement or stand outside it. Patricia realizes with cold clarity that she is not a guest at this table. She is evidence, proof of what happens when the old rules fail. Damiano positioned her in the light deliberately, not hidden, not explained away, just a present, breathing, hurt. You're asking me to limit my operations, Rossi says. I'm telling you the cost of doing business in my city just changed. Damiano leans forward slightly. You wanted to know if I'd protect a coat check girl. Now you have your answer. Sign, and we both walk away with something. Refuse, and I'll spend the next 6 months making you irrelevant. Rossi's hand trembles slightly as he reaches for the pen. Patricia expects rage, expects him to flip the table, to refuse, to storm out. Instead, Rossi signs his name with the shaky precision of a man who knows he's already lost. You're a hard man, Romani, Rossi says, setting the pen down. I'm a fair one, Damiano corrects. You just forgot where the line was. Rossi stands. His men follow. No handshake, no champagne toast, just the sound of chairs scraping and footsteps retreating. When the door closes, Franco leans close to Damiano's ear. He'll test you, Franco murmurs. Not by assault, by subtraction. He'll pull back, go quiet, make you think you've won, then probe somewhere you're not watching. Damiano picks up the signed accord, folds it once, tucks it into his jacket. Then we answer by absence, he says quietly. Let him probe empty rooms. Patricia exhales. realizes she's been holding her breath since Rossi sat down, and understands, with perfect clarity, that the war hasn't ended. It's just gone underground. The car ride back cuts through the city as it wakes. Patricia sits in the back seat, watching the morning unfold through tinted glass, and realizes she's witnessing an earthquake that makes no sound. 9:47 a.m. Red Hook, Pier 23. An unmarked van idles at the dock entrance. No logos. No sirens. 3 men in work jackets step out, carrying clipboards instead of guns. The foreman, one of Rossi's longest-running skimming operations, watches them approach, coffee going cold in his hand. Birth reassignments, sir man, the lead man says, handing over paperwork. Effective immediately. Your manifests are under audit. You're off rotation until further notice. The foreman opens his mouth, close it, looks at the harbor master standing 20 feet away, who suddenly finds his own clipboard fascinating. No bodies, just absence. By 10 a.m., Rossi's pier access had evaporated like steam. 10:15 a.m. Bowery, back office above the deli. 2 of Rossi's ears, the men who listen to police scanners and tip off crews before raids, arrive for their shift and find the locks changed. A note taped to the door. Lease terminated. Property under new management. Their phones buzz simultaneously. Text from an unknown number. Your services are no longer required. One of them tries calling Rossi's collector. It goes to voicemail. He tries the dispatcher. Nothing. They've been erased before breakfast. 10:42 a.m. Canal Street, underground card room. The health inspector arrives with a police escort and a checklist longer than his arm. The room that's operated in the basement for 6 years, cash games, high rollers, Rossi's favorite skim, gets shut down in 14 minutes. Mold, electrical violations, occupancy limits exceeded. The players scatter. The dealer pockets his chips and walks. By noon, the space is dark and the door is chained. No headlines, no arrests, just the slow, methodical dismantling of an empire, one side hustle at a time. Patricia watches it all from the car window. Franco is driving, and he takes her on a route that isn't the fastest. It's the most instructive. She sees the vans, the inspectors, the reassigned docks, sees men standing on corners, checking phones that don't ring anymore. This is what he meant, she murmurs. Franco glances at her in the rear view. What's that? Absence. This is how he answers. Franco almost smiles. Now you're learning. By the time they pull up to the club, the underworld has new gravity. Everyone orbits Damiano Romani's rules now, whether they signed the accord or not. The news has no bodies to report, but every man who works in the shadows knows. The map changed overnight, and no one saw it coming until they woke up smaller. Patricia goes straight to the office. Damiano said she didn't have to work today. But she needs to move, to think, to do something normal. She opens her laptop to check her school portal, force of habit, and freezes. Tuition payment received, $3,750. Sender, anonymous. Date, this morning. 6:43 a.m. Her throat tightens. She scrolls down. The payment covers her last semester, her certification exam fee, even the textbook she's been checking out from the library because she couldn't afford to buy it. You found it. She turns. Damiano stands in the doorway, still in his white shirt from the meeting, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He doesn't come closer. Just watch her with those honey-dark eyes that see too much. You can't just... I didn't, he says quietly. An anonymous donor did. You can refuse it if you want, but the registrar doesn't accept returns. She wants to be angry. Wants to throw it back in his face and tell him she doesn't need saving. But the truth is, she does need this, and he knew it. Thank you, she whispers. He nods once, turns to leave. Mr. Romani. He pauses. The men. The ones from the alley. Did you find them? His expression goes carefully neutral. We're working on it. Franco appears behind him, phone in hand, face tight. He leans close, murmurs something Patricia can't hear. She catches only 2 words: out of town and claimed. Damiano's jaw hardens. What? Patricia asks. What does that mean? Damiano exchanges a look with Franco, then turns back to her. It means the 2 men who attacked you have been claimed by a freelancer from out of state, he says. Someone else wanted you hurt, and they're still out there. The room drops 10 degrees. You're not working alone anymore, Damiano continues. Not until we know who sent them. And Patricia realizes with cold, creeping certainty, the war isn't over. It just found a new front. The club closes at 2 a.m., but I don't leave. Damiano doesn't ask me to stay, but he doesn't send me home either. We exist in his office in a silence that isn't uncomfortable, just heavy with things unsaid. He's at his desk, reviewing contracts. I'm on the couch with my EMT flashcards, mouthing terms I'll need to know in 6 weeks. Tachycardia, hypoxia, shock protocol. The bruise on my face has started to yellow at the edges, healing, but slowly. Finally, I set the cards down. Why me? He looks up. Don't pretend not to understand. Why go to war over a coat check girl? I press. Why the accord, the sweep, I gesture at the email still open on my laptop. The tuition? Damiano sets his pen down, leans back. The lamp on his desk casts his face in half shadow, but his eyes are clear. Because you told the truth when lying would have been easier, he says quietly. They had you in an alley, bleeding, and you didn't give them what they wanted. You walked back into this club instead of running. You refused to break. That's not special. That's survival. No. He stands, moves around the desk. Survival is giving them what they want and disappearing. What you did was choose integrity over safety. Most people don't. He stops a few feet away, close enough that I can see the gold chain at his collar, catch the faint scent of his cologne, something expensive and clean. May I? He asks. I don't know what he's asking permission for until he lifts his hand, slowly, carefully, and his thumb brushes the edge of the bruise on my cheekbone. The same gesture from that first night, but gentler now. His sleeve is crisp white linen. His touch is warm. I don't flinch. You see people, he says softly. The way you fold coats like they matter. The way you remembered Evan's tell before anyone else did. You're going to be a good EMT, Patricia, because you care when it costs you. It's not a declaration of love, it's something deeper. Recognition, the kind that doesn't need rescuing or pedestals or pretending I'm something I'm not. I'm not giving up my certification, I say, voice steady. I'm not becoming someone you hide. I won't be a secret or a kept thing. Good, he says. I don't want you to be. Then what do you want? His thumb stills against my skin. To make sure you survive long enough to save lives, to keep you safe without putting you in a cage. He pauses. To know you by choice, not obligation. I'm here, I whisper. That's my choice. Something shifts in his expression. He leans down, slow enough that I could stop him, and presses his forehead to mine. Not a kiss, just presence. Breath shared in the small space between us. Tomorrow, he murmurs. Franco's assigning you a driver, different routes home each night. You set the boundaries, where, when, how much, but you don't walk alone until we find who sent them. Okay. He pulls back just as his phone buzzes. He glances at the screen, and I watch his expression shudder. What? He answers the speaker, Franco's voice, tight and clipped. Boss, we've got eyes on a vehicle, matches the description from the stray report, parked 2 blocks from Patricia's building. The driver's still inside. My stomach drops. Damiano's gaze locks on mine, and I see the shift from the man who touched my face with tenderness to the one who dismantled Rossi's empire before breakfast. "Don't move him," Damiano says. "I'm coming now." He looks at me. "You're staying here tonight. No arguments." And I realize the war just came to my door. I don't sleep. Damiano makes a call, and within 20 minutes, the office becomes a command center. Franco arrives with a laptop. Two men I don't recognize set up on the couch with tablets showing live feeds, and I sit in the corner chair, wrapped in Damiano's suit jacket because the building's heat doesn't reach this room at 3 a.m., watching them work. "Vehicles registered to a rental company in Newark," one of the men reports. "Picked up yesterday under the name Marcus Flynn. The ID's fake, but the credit card was cleared. Run the photo from the rental agreement," Damiano says, leaning over the screen. They do. Facial recognition pings 3 databases. The man's real name is Derek Soto, 32, parole violation warrant out of Philadelphia for aggravated assault. Known associate of a crew that specializes in message work, freelance enforcement for hire. "He's a gun," Franco mutters. Someone pointed him at her. Damiano's jaw tightens. "Who hired him?" The tech shakes his head. "Cash transaction probably. No paper trail we can find. But he's sloppy, parked under a streetlight, and didn't ditch the rental. He's not worried about getting caught." "Because he thinks he's untouchable," Damiano says quietly. "Or because whoever hired him promised protection." He looks at me. "Did you recognize the men in the alley? Accents, tattoos, anything?" I replay that night frame by frame. The first one, white guy, shaved head, had a Boston accent, I think. The taller one didn't talk much. Franco pulls up arrest records, scrolls. Could be Leary's crew, Irish outfit working the northern boroughs. They've been pushing into neutral zones for months. Damiano's expression goes cold. Then they just made a mistake that'll cost them a decade of goodwill. 4:47 a.m., 2 blocks from Patricia's apartment. I watch it happen from the back seat of Damiano's car, parked 1 street over with a view of the surveillance van. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the sky is starting to pale at the edges, that fragile pre-dawn light that makes everything look temporary. Derek Soto sits in his rental car, scrolling his phone, occasionally glancing up at my building's entrance. He doesn't see the 2 men approach from behind until they're at his windows, one on each side, flanking him. I expect guns. Expect them to drag him out, bloody him the way I was bloodied. Instead, Franco taps on the driver's window with a manila folder. Soto startles, reaches for something, probably a weapon, but Franco just holds up the folder where he can see it. Taps again, waits. Slowly, Soto rolls the window down. I can't hear the conversation, but I watch Franco hand him the folder through the window. Soto opens it. His face drains of color as he reads. "What's in there?" I whisper. Damiano, sitting beside me, answers without taking his eyes off the scene. "Parole violation documentation, certified copies of his warrant, proof he crossed state lines, photos of him sitting outside your building with timestamps." He pauses. "And a bus ticket to Philadelphia. Leaves in 90 minutes. You're giving him a way out?" "I'm giving him a choice." Damiano's voice is soft, surgical. "Get on the bus and turn himself in for parole violation. Minimal time added, no new charges. Or stay here and Franco forwards everything to the Philadelphia DA, the NYPD, and every parole officer in the tri-state area. He'll spend the next 5 years in court and prison instead of 18 months. I watch Soto's hands shake as he flips through the pages. He says something, arguing, maybe pleading. Franco just points at the bus ticket, then at his watch. Soto closes the folder, starts his car. The 2 men step back, and the rental pulls away from the curb, heading toward the Port Authority. No blood, no bullets, just the slow, inevitable crush of consequences delivered in a manila folder. Will he actually get on the bus? I ask. Damiano finally looks at me. Franco's people will make sure he does, and we'll have someone waiting in Philadelphia to confirm he turns himself in. If he runs, the documentation goes live anyway. He leans back against the seat. Either way, he's done in this city. And whoever hired him? His smile is cold. Franco's already making calls. By noon, every crew boss in 5 boroughs will know that an out-of-town hitter tried to touch someone under my protection. Leary's outfit will either hand over the name of who hired Soto, or they'll wake up to find their operations frozen like Rossi's were. He says it so calmly, like rearranging the power structure of an entire city is just another Thursday. You don't kill them, I say. It's not a question, it's a realization. You make them irrelevant. Violence is easy, Damiano says, echoing what he told me in the VIP room. Fear is policy, and policy lasts longer. The sun breaks over the horizon, spilling gold across the skyline. Come on, yo, he says. Let me take you home. 6:23 a.m. Patricia's apartment building. Damiano insists on walking me upstairs. Franco drives off to coordinate the bus station handoff, leaving us standing on the sidewalk as the neighborhood wakes. A man in a bathrobe walks his dog. A woman in scrubs waits for the bus, coffee steaming in her hand. Normal people living normal lives. Unaware that a professional hitter was parked on this block 3 hours ago. We climb the stairs, 4 flights, no elevator. Damiano doesn't complain, doesn't comment on the peeling paint or the way the railing wobbles on the 3rd floor landing. When we reach my door, I fumble with my keys, hyper aware of him standing close in the narrow hallway. Mrs. Chen from 4C opens her door to put out her recycling. Sees me. Sees Damiano in his white shirt and gold chain, looking like he walked out of a different tax bracket. Her eyes go wide. She looks at me, then at him, then at my bruised face. I wait for judgment, for her to ask if I'm okay, if I need help, if this man is in trouble. Instead, she nods once, respectful, almost deferential, and closes her door quietly. The rumor has traveled faster than I thought. Your neighbors know, Damiano says. Know what? That you're protected. He says it without arrogance, just a fact. Words move fast in buildings like this. They'll look out for you now, not because they're afraid of me, because they know you're not alone. I unlock my door but don't open it, turn to face him. You're not coming in, I say. I know. Not because I don't want you to, but because you need boundaries, he finishes. I know. I'm not here to take anything from you, Patricia, just to make sure you made it home. He reaches out, slow, asking permission with his eyes, and tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. His hand lingers for a heartbeat at my jaw. Sleep, he says. I'll see you tonight at work, if you still want to come in. I do. Then I'll have a car here at 9 p.m. Different route every night until this is finished. Thank you. He steps back, heading for the stairs, pauses at the landing. Patricia. Yeah? You're stronger than you think. Then he's gone. Footsteps echoing down the stairwell, and I'm standing in my doorway with my heart doing something complicated in my chest. 7:14 p.m. Club Romani, rooftop terrace. I show up for my shift at 10. The driver, a quiet woman named Carla, who drives like she's seen combat, takes a route that loops 3 extra blocks and drops me at the front entrance instead of the staff door. Damiano's orders, she says. Visibility over stealth. The club is packed by 11. I work the coat check with the same rhythm I always have. Tickets, hangers, polite smiles. But something has shifted. The floor manager checks on me twice. The bartender sends over a ginger ale I didn't order, and when I glance toward the VIP section, I catch Damiano's gaze across the room. He doesn't wave, just nod once. Acknowledgement. At 7 p.m., when my shift technically ends but the club is still running, Damiano appears at the coat check. "Come with me," he says. I follow him through a door I've never noticed before, up a narrow staircase, and out onto the roof. The terrace is small, maybe 20 feet across, surrounded by a low wall and strung with unlit cafe lights. From here, you can see the river, the skyline, the highways threading through the city like veins. The air smells like rain that hasn't fallen yet. Damiano stands at the railing, hands in his pockets, looking out over the city like a king surveying his kingdom. "You asked me once why I do this," he says without turning. "Why I run the club, why I keep the peace, why I care about rules." I move to stand beside him. "And?" "Because you protect a thing by making the world around it livable." He gestures at the sprawl below us. "I don't own this city. No one does. But I can make sure the streets stay clean, the dealers stay off school corners, and the landlords don't burn buildings for insurance money. I can make sure people like you, people just trying to survive, can walk home without getting pulled into someone else's war." "That's why you went after Rossi. Why did you draw the line at civilians?" "Exactly." He looks at me. "Power without responsibility is just cruelty. I learned that a long time ago." "From who?" "From watching men who had everything destroy it because they thought strength meant taking whatever they wanted." His voice is quiet. "I want to build something better, not perfect, but livable." I lean against the railing. The bruise on my face has faded to a dull, yellow-green. In another week, it'll be gone, but the memory of that alley, of the choice I made not to break, will stay. "What happened to Leary?" I ask. "The crew that probably hired Soto." Damiano's mouth curves. "They handed over the name this afternoon. Mid-level guy with a grudge against me from a deal last year. Thought hurting you would send a message." He pauses. "He's been exiled. Leary's crew cut him loose to keep their own operations intact. Last I heard, he's on a flight to Miami with a lifetime ban from returning." More absence. "More absence." He agrees. The city glitters below us, indifferent and beautiful. "What happens now?" I ask. "Now you finish your certification. Work your shifts. Build the life you want." He turns to face me fully. "And when you're ready, if you're ready, we see what this is. No pressure, no obligations, just a choice." I meet his eyes, honey dark, steady. "I'd like that," I whisper. He smiles, a real one this time, soft at the edges. "Good." 3 weeks later. The coat check is slow on a Tuesday. I use the lull to review my flashcards and mouthing the steps aloud. Airway, breathing, circulation. My exam is in 10 days, and I'm as ready as I'll ever be. The bruise is gone, the split lip healed clean. The only evidence of that night is a faint scar at my eyebrow that I don't bother covering with makeup. Damiano passes on his way to a meeting, pauses at my station. "How's the studying?" "Good. Nervous." "But good." "You'll pass." "You sound certain." "I am." He leans against the counter, ignoring the line of patrons waiting to check coats. "Because you don't quit, even when quitting would be easier." Heat rises in my cheeks. "You're holding up the line. Let them wait." But he straightens anyway, adjusts his fedora. "Dinner after your shift?" "The terrace?" "Wherever you want." "Terrace is good." He smiles and disappears into the VIP section, and I go back to my flashcards and my coats and my quiet, steady life that somehow now includes a mafia boss who brings me ginger ale and pays my tuition and makes the city bend without breaking it. Epilogue beats. The precinct gets questions from a reporter about the sudden drop in territorial disputes along the riverfront. The captain shrugs on camera, calling it community cooperation. Off camera, 3 officers trade looks. They know. They just know better than to say it. In the underworld, the story spreads like gospel. Romani asked a question, and the whole city answered. Who did this to you? And now no one wants to be the name that comes up next time he asks. Rossi's crew runs tighter, cleaner operations. No civilians, no loose ends. The Accord isn't just paper, it's culture now. Leary's outfit in the northern boroughs goes quiet. They stop pushing into neutral zones, stop testing boundaries. The guy they exiled sends a message through back channels. Tell Romani it wasn't personal. Damiano doesn't respond. Silence is answer enough. And Patricia Thompson, coat check girl, future EMT, the woman who refused to break, walks home every night in a car that takes a different route. Through streets that feel safer than they did a month ago. Past neighbors who nod in respect and dealers who step aside. She studies. She works. She builds. And when Damiano Romani tilts her chin toward the light now, it's not to assess damage. It's to see her smile. Final image. Late November. First snow dusting the terrace. Patricia stands at the railing in Damiano's coat, too big, smelling like his cologne, looking out over the city that tried to break her and failed. He stands beside her, hand resting lightly at the small of her back. You change things, Tesh, she says. We change things, he corrects. And somewhere in the cold, bright night, the city breathes easier, not perfect, not clean, but livable. And the question that started it all, who did this to you, becomes the city's new prayer, the one no one wants to answer. Because by morning, everyone learned, touch what Damiano Romani protects, and you don't wake up bleeding. You wake up erased, and mercy in his hands is the cruelest sentence of all.